afternoon from Mickey, Aurora, and from me from Castle Goring. Well, it's been quite eventful. So, without further ado, I am going to plunge right in. What I'd really love to do is plunge right into the Caribbean, Mediterranean, Aegean, or Ionian seas. However, it's going to be in with you. So, without further ado, I will read out the very first question, which is from Olive Chen 77 says, "Thank you so very much for this episode. It's interesting what you said about Harry's chilling behavior. I know a few German relatives of the late Duke of Edinburgh. All said to me last year, the marriage will end in a horrible way. He will," and I rarely hesitate to actually read out this precisely. Those of you who have read my book will know that these comments, which I'm going to try to skirt around but give you a flavour of, have been concerns not only of the Duke of Edinburgh's German relations, but Harry's British relations as well. There has always been a fear that Harry would do something to himself. And it was interesting to see that, and some of the German relations are thinking that he could extend to her or the children, and then this really gets into very Shakespearean territory, because they are worried that Meghan would, I can't say it, it's too problematic, but that Meghan would, oh dear, Harry, shall we go for a cup of tea underneath the laburnum tree? But anyway, these are not predictions of what either of them will do. So nobody's accusing him or her of doing anything, but these are the fears of people who are related to him and very concerned. So or that the Cambridges could find themselves in invidious positions, shall we say, that would not be good. I'm really modifying this language, I've got to tell you. I thought of this, Olive Chen 77 continues. My question is the fear of the royal family, especially the Prince of Wales or Her Majesty, that there will be some kind of, and she mentions two words, neither of which I am going to mention, but Meghan has previously alluded to one of them in relation to herself, not that anybody has ever taken seriously that this was a word that would apply to her, but it is certainly a word that people have been worried for some time would apply to him. or something like that. Well, I don't know what else there would be aside from if it's not one or the other. I don't know what a third would be. But anyway, thank you so very much. If I may say, you look absolutely refreshing and sensational today. That obviously was not today. Thank you very much. Olive77, I hope it's not too frustrating for you and for everybody who's listening that I have practiced such censorship, because I really think it is such a delicate matter. But I have to say, if you're dealing with Greek or Shakespearean tragedy, it's not beyond the realms of possibility. And yes, you are absolutely right. It has been a concern of the family for some considerable length of time. Because remember, I wrote my book and it was published 2 years ago. I started writing it 3 years ago. In fact, I had already started it in July 3 years ago. But it is a concern that cannot be dismissed out of hand. And one would hope, no, nothing like this would ever or could ever happen. But you just never know. You know, tragedies have happened before in various royal families. So, more than that, I can't say, because I need to skirt around the words that you have used, because they are so precise and decisive, chillingly so. Okay, says, Dear Lady C, I love your outfit today. Beautiful choice. That presumably was the last video. Tom Bowr reports that Harry's Eton friends didn't like Meghan because she disagreed with their misogynistic jokes and anti-trans humour. I've also read that William's friends gave Kate a difficult time about her middle-class background. Can you confirm? Unfortunately, I too have personally experienced challenges with my partner's friends who attended a school like Eton. In my experience, these men are very misogynistic and expect women to not say anything and just look pretty. If Meghan had the same experience with Harry's friends, I can understand why there was tension. Well, okay, I'm very sorry to hear about the difficulties you had with your chap's friends. I would say that anybody who gave somebody a purposefully hard time because of things that are beyond their control is ill-mannered and badly brought up. Now, I've mixed with old Etonians all my life. And I have to say, I don't recognize the type that is being described. Yes, I do recognize that the aristocracy have a particular sort of humour. If you are joking you're not meant to be taken seriously. If you deliver a message in a joke, it's because you're gutless and a real creep. Nobody of character jokes and gives a message. I mean, jokes aren't the postal service or FedEx or DHL. Meghan, I understand from everybody who knows her well, and several who don't know her so well, that she has absolutely no sense of humour. And she was intent from the word go on coming between Harry and his friends and his family. So she had to find objections. Now, yes, upper class humour can be naughty. It's purposely naughty. It's a part of what makes it funny. And we, and I include myself in that number, when we're joking, can say some pretty naughty things. That's a part of the fun. I mean, misogynistic. You know, I'm sorry. You're speaking about very pedestrian people. If you think that people at the absolute top levels of society expect women to be pretty little things who go goo goo ga ah and ooh ooh and ah ah. In Meghan's world, yes. Because rich self-made men usually want arm candy. They usually want dolly birds who big up their egos and make everybody think, my goodness, aren't they hot in the bedroom as well as the boardroom? But that's not true of people who are of substance and inherited substance at that. Wives are supposed to be potent, powerful, capable, and effective. The women are usually the powers behind the throne. They are usually very capable and efficient. They have large establishments to run. They have careers, in quotes, to run. Do you think being a duchess or a grandee is waking up in the morning and clapping your hands for the butler? I've got news for you. Those days are long since past, if indeed they ever existed, because women have always been expected to pull their weight in the social and the family context. And 150 years ago, when most gentlemen didn't work, the men were happy to relegate control to their wives. So I'm sorry, I don't recognize this world where women are weeping willows. Oh, big bad man, can you protect me? That's what dolly birds do. That's what arrivistes do. That's not what people of substance and breeding do. Sorry. The women are brought up to be capable, effective, and they usually are. If a man wants to marry a dolly bird, he's going to meet a lot of opposition from his family. And in fact, usually they don't marry dolly birds. They simply bonk them. That's what they do with them. There's a huge difference between wife material and bed material. As for trans humour, I'm afraid that the whole trans debate is a very media and bourgeois affect that has absolutely nothing to do with the old established order. The late Lord Roallan married April Ashley. Remember that? She was one of the first sex changes in the world. I think she was the ninth. I think that's what she said. Lord Roallan married her. No, my sweetie pie. I'm sorry. The world that you think exists and that Tom Bowr might have said Meghan found objectionable is an invention of Meghan. And I'm not saying people don't make tasteless jokes, because sometimes the fact that the joke is tasteless is what makes it funny. And as long as you're with like-minded people who understand that you're just joking, there's no harm done, in my opinion. Now, giving people a hard time is another matter. It is said in the press that in the early days of William's and Catherine's relationship, that certain of his friends gave her a hard time, saying things like doors to manual. If somebody did it once or twice, believe me, they weren't going to be able to do it a third or a fourth time. William wouldn't have allowed it. His friends aren't those sort of people. And tellingly, the friends he had then, he has now. And Catherine hasn't objected. Do you seriously think a woman of her substance, because she has backbone, would have kept people in their close circle who had been sneering at her? I'm sorry. You know, the press and certain journalists and certain media types give a totally artificial idea of what the aristocratic and royal world is, possibly because they only get glimpses of it. And they get a lot of tattletelling, loads of tales tattled. Sandra Schmidt says, "Dear Lady C, will you please provide a review of Tom Bowr's book, Revenge, Meghan, Harry and the War Between the Windsors? I've been reading the serials posted in a publication that shall not be named, and wow, did you ghostwrite this book?" So much of what has been revealed in the serials matches what you have told us. Love your show and hugs to Mickey and Aurora. Sandra Schmidt, thank you very much. Well, if he's giving a realistic and accurate account, I don't see how he can deviate very much from what I've had to say. Let's put it that way. I am going to hold fire until I have read the book itself. I have been also looking at the serialization snippets, the excerpts. But you know, the excerpts can give a totally misleading meaning because they have to edit down a considerable body of words into a skeleton. And so a lot of nuance and a lot of the message can be distorted and or missed altogether. So I don't want to say anything at this point beyond the fact that I have been reading the excerpts. I have ordered the book. I hope it will be my pleasure to review it for you. So let's wait and see after I have read it. More than that, I prefer not to say. Mrs. Harpold from Canada, Canadian flag, says, I don't wish anything bad for H&M. I just... Sorry. Oh dear. Sorry. I just want them to leave us alone and stop villainizing our royal family. Mrs. Harpold, from your lips to God's ears. However, Harry and Meghan and Sunshine Sacks have a barrier between your words and God's ears. So I'm afraid you're not going to have a Greta Garbo moment. You're going to be haunted. Nobody is going to leave you alone because H&M know that their gift in life is to be nuisances, and they are going to continue being so, thinking that they are being admirable and wonderful. Brenda Reed says, I don't believe that those parade photos were taken by a bystander. Such would have waited for the money shot of the housewife face. Oh, Brenda Reed, you are too funny. I think these were arranged for and done by a pro. Why would H show up in Texas at a rodeo and in Wyoming at a 4th of July parade? Is this material for H, Prince of America, sort of Netflix spew? Well, I actually, Brenda Reed, agree with you. I think they were posed. I think they were taken by somebody on their team. I think they were to make themselves more interesting and oh, we are so in demand, we can't go anywhere without being recognized. It's just awful. It's just awful. I mean, when you're as famous as I am, I can't even go to one of my 16 bathrooms without somebody recognizing me and papping me. Yeah, I get papped even when I'm sitting down. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. But I'm a miracle worker, so when I pull that chain, I flush the paparazzo down the Montecito drain. Yeah, because I'm so important that even when I'm sitting on my throne, I'm being photographed. That's the message. That somebody had to snatch their pictures, snatch them. And you notice she's the one whose face is never properly seen. You can depend upon it that was regulated to within an inch of its life. And why would H show up at a Texas rodeo and in Wyoming for a 4th of July parade? Well, he's Harry, Prince of America. the American prince, the people's prince. And since the people of England are racist, he had to go to America to get his true recognition and worth. Harry, Prince of America. My goodness, you talk about bachelors of science. Oy vey. Vicky Greenwood says, I just want to say that putting out pictures and information that they are going to visit Oprah about a possible second television interview when Oprah wasn't even home is very disreputable behavior. Well, let me put it this way, my dear. There is no bandwagon that they won't jump upon. And by the looks of it, there's no hearse that's about to arrive. To pick up a loved one of someone else that they don't somehow manage to make into another bandwagon. Because isn't it rather redolent of the fact that Prince Philip is dying and they are spinning yarns? And do you remember Meghan's comment, as reported, that Prince Philip was it that he was faking an illness to muzzle her, and she wasn't going to be muzzled, and how dare he? Or words to that effect. But this also shows how completely naive they are, because surely they must have realized, but clearly didn't, that Oprah would resent the fact that she was being used and that she would retaliate, which indeed she did. But let's hear what Brenda Gore has to say on this subject, because she says Oprah has had the same heartless PR stunt done to her as when the Duke of Edinburgh was dying. Oprah was with her dying father. Well, death is far too important an opportunity for an opportunist to miss, especially when the opportunist is hoping that as they miss, as their victims, I should say, or their targets, miss what they're doing, they can just snatch a little bit of free publicity, a few column inches. You really want to implore Harry and Meghan to please just stop it. Just stop it. If you want publicity, settle for less and get better publicity. Stop exhibiting your total lack of everything worthwhile, worth seeing, worth admiring to the public. The public are not blind. Taz says, if Nelson Mandela had lived to witness Harkle and Has-Been's treatment of Queen Elizabeth II, seeing as Mr. Mandela had great fondness and admiration, so much so he would use her first name and was one of only a few that could, I think Mr. Mandela would have put them well and truly in their place. Well, Taz, I actually know people who know the Mandelas. and as your sentiment is one that they have expressed to me in the past. I just say that for what it's worth. There is no way Nelson Mandela would have gone along with this unseemly exhibition and not called Harry and Meghan, who claim to have admired him so greatly that they would doubtless have been sitting at his feet like acolytes. He'd have called them to order. Would they have responded in a positive way? Would they have learned the lesson? Well, it doesn't look as if either of them has learned much of a lesson that they should have learned. He was better before her, and she was certainly adept at pretending to be something she wasn't before him. But the fact of the matter is they both went to excellent schools. Thomas Markle, despite having indulged her, is a very decent man who taught his daughter to be a decent person. Prince Charles and Diana both taught Harry to be a decent person. The fact that other stuff was going on around doesn't alter the basic message, which was be a decent person. Although Diana then undermined it by saying, whatever you want to do, just don't get caught. So that undermined it. But it doesn't alter the fact both Charles and Diana, and certainly the Queen and Prince Philip, and all of the other members of the family have brought their children up to be decent people. So Harry and Meghan both have had good instruction. And if they didn't accept it from anybody else, were they going to accept it from Nelson Mandela? That is a question I think we know the answer to. Some people just can't and won't learn. Deborah Godley says, Ivana totally ran the Donald in quotation marks. When they met, Trump was a nobody from Queens who had been collecting rent at his father, Fred Trump's many crappy apartments. Well, they were worth a lot of money, but yes, they were hardly Fifth Avenue apartments, and was trying to figure out how to make it in Manhattan. His first project was to build what became the Grand Hyatt right over Grand Central Station. That was in late 1970s when I lived and worked in New York City. I met Ivana several times socially, and she was larger than life, ! Well, she certainly was. Everyone in the city followed them closely. Also, Ivana was one tough cookie who ruled the roost totally and brought up the kids very strictly. Yes, she did, and she was proud of it. Also, she was over the top very in her style, but was a business dynamo and much smarter than Donald would ever be! They are saying that she was having hip issues, and the stairs in her Manhattan home were treacherous. The medical examiner said yesterday she actually died from hard blows to her torso, not heart failure. There was a spilled coffee cup nearby, so apparently she slipped. She was a hell of a gal. Deborah Godley, thanks for that. She was a hell of a gal. I knew she'd fallen down the stairs. There was also, and we were waiting for the medical examiner's report, that she had obviously injured herself. But the doctors originally said that she died from heart failure. That's not the same as a heart attack. Some people thought I said heart attack. She didn't die of a heart attack. Evidently, her heart failed as a result of the injuries she suffered when she fell down the stairs. So yes, the immediate cause of death was falling down the stairs and blunt trauma to her torso, but that evidently is what brought on a cardiac arrest. And I need to be treading here very gently and carefully, because I didn't know Ivana that well, but what I knew I liked. And I also have a degree of sympathy for her family, for her children, for her ex-husband, who still had great affection for her, as indeed she did for him. And I know that the internet is alive with certain untoward and really tasteless suppositions. And I'm not going down that route, I'm afraid. The world doesn't need to know each and every detail as to how and why she fell down the stairs. All we need to know at this point is that she's dead and not even buried yet. Give the woman a chance to actually, in my opinion, be buried, be seen off with a funeral before everybody pounces in with their, and I'm not saying incidentally, Deborah Godley, that you or anybody else, because nobody, fortunately, on this site has made any undue speculation or anything. But I knew that people would, whether it was true or not, and I just think it's tasteless. And she was a great gal. She had a terrible accident. And it's really easy to fall downstairs. I had a friend staying here not too long ago, and some of our staircases, and we have several different staircases in this castle, some of them follow that same format, very narrow at the spiral and spiraling out in a triangular way, so that they widen as they go to the opposite end of the stairs. And a friend of mine, I was showing her around, and she tripped and fell and hurt her ankle not so long ago, right in front of me. I've fallen downstairs, stone cold sober. I remember when I was 19, I shouldn't laugh but it's ridiculous. I was 19 and I was in New York at some club. I can't remember what club it was. And they had a wonderful sweeping staircase without the spirals, incidentally. And I was sailing down it in this wonderful outfit, which I can still remember. It was pink chiffon lined in silk with wonderful huge palazzo pants and harem pants. No, sorry, not palazzo, harem pants. And a top that was ruched just on the neck, covering each bosom, and nothing else on the top. And I had on floor length scarf front and back. And I was confidently sailing down the stairs because, having been a model, I knew how to walk downstairs. And don't ask me what happened. The next thing I knew was I took off like a bat from hell and landed at the bottom of the stairs. Fortunately, I didn't hurt myself. On another occasion, the week before Diana died, I was on a friend's boat and I was walking down the stairs and flew off and broke my toe, my big toe. People fall downstairs. Laura Ashley, who everybody in Britain will know who Laura Ashley was, she died falling down a small flight of stairs going to the loo at her house in France. She broke her neck, I think. You know, stairs are treacherous, especially if you have mobility issues, which sadly Ivana did. And I'm not going into her mobility issues at this point, if you don't mind. Suffice it to say that she would never have had any of the problems she did had she not been married at some point to Rosanna Rubicondi. That's all I'm saying on that subject. Yes, it's sad, it's tragic. She was young, she was only 73, and she had guarded her life with a fierceness that showed how much she loved life during COVID. And I know from a mutual friend who was about to go to stay with her in Saint-Tropez that she was really excited about going to stay in Saint-Tropez and spending the summer in France. Very sad. She was a good egg. She really was. And on that note, I will say, I hope this has been of some interest to you. If it has, please like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell, and remember, keep the questions and comments coming in. This is a conversation. I need your input. God bless. Thanks and goodbye.